Hey everyone, what's going on? Mark here from TST Industries, back in the garage. And behind me, I have the 2025 Honda Grom. This is the 4th generation model in their Honda Grom lineup. And it is very similar to the 3rd generation Grom that we first saw in 2022. And for that reason, a lot of these parts are interchangeable. But as you can see on the table in front of me, we have just a quick look at some of the products that we offer for the 2025 Honda Grom. So in this video, we will be showing you the installation process of the Womet-Tech Evos Shorty Levers. This is a Shorty lever system, CNC machined aluminum, anodized black with built-in adjusters in the red color, but we do have other color adjusters available if you so desire. 6 points of adjustment, very simple installation, and in fact, the installation process is exactly the same as shown on the 3rd generation Honda Grom. So at this time, we will cut to that footage and show you the step-by-step installation process.
I have chosen to begin with the clutch side here. We are first going to crack this adjuster loose. Depending on how tight the factory went on your adjuster, you may need to use pliers. There is a key cut in both the barrel and the locking nut of the adjuster, so want to back it up as far as it'll go and still line up with this slot, and then we want to turn this entire mechanism as far as it'll go in towards the perch while still maintaining the alignment of the key slot with the rest of the slotting here in the perch and in the lever. As you can see here, I have a clear shot, and now we'll be able to withdraw the cable throughout this entire slot after the lever comes out. All right, see this pivot bolt here? This goes through the entire perch lever assembly, and there is a nut on the bottom that basically locks that in place. We are first going to crack that nut loose using a 10mm wrench. Once you crack it loose, it comes off really easy by hand. There's only one nut in this location, so it's very easy to identify. Once that's loose, I will take a large slotted screwdriver and unscrew this pivot bolt. Now my bike here has just a couple tens of miles, maybe 100 miles on it. It has had a short service life, so there's not a lot of buildup of grime, rust, and tightness in this mechanism here in the pivot bolt. If your bike, if you're watching this down the line, a couple of years from 2022, you will likely have a lot of grime on here. You want to wipe all of that off, make sure that this is clean. We'll repack it with grease on the way back in with the new lever, make it pivot nice and easy. Now, I have nothing holding this lever in here. I'm going to rotate it and then withdraw the cable through that slot. Make sure the cable comes out. Rotate this way to line the cable up with the slot that lets you withdraw the end. Now we're ready for the reinstallation using Evos levers. We'll grab the clutch side lever. As you can see, it's new, has no grease on it. I'm gonna grab some grease, get that on this lever here. I like to get all of the mating surfaces greased up. The inside of the bore here, put a little bit of grease in there. I'm going to distribute a little bit more of that grease in there with my pivot bolt. You don't need a lot of grease. You obviously don't want to pack so much grease in there that a lot of it comes out and then you have a big cleanup to do. But you do want these surfaces to be lubricated so that they can slide past each other really nicely. Once this is all done, we are ready to go for reinstallation. Basically, the reverse order of removal. I'm going to find the slot and the bore for the cable pull. Get that inserted in there. Rotate around like this. Get the cable through the slot in the barrel. And then when you get to this point, be careful. There is a button for a switch here that is responsible for the ECU knowing that you're pressing your clutch in. Be very careful how you place that in so you don't shear it off. If you were to just go to here and push it in, you may actually shear that button off. So make sure that when you start rotating this into the assembly, you're kind of in line between the bore here and the bore for the pivot bolt in the perch. Once you have those two bores concentric, you can start threading in this pivot bolt. Find concentric fit first and then start turning it in. Be careful to find the threads. You don't want to cross thread this thing. All right, here we go. I'm going to get that bottomed out and snugged up. Make sure I don't have slop. Make sure it's not too tight. It's actually rotating. Everything's rotating and moving past each other. Now I'm going to install that lock nut that I took off. Get that bottomed out. And using my 10mm wrench, I'm going to tighten that down. But for the tightening procedure, I'm going to hold my slotted screw here. Make sure it doesn't rotate. Now I'm just going to clean up any of the excess grease that could catch grime and dirt and whatnot. All right. And now we do have quite a bit of play in the cable, so we're going to want to adjust that. You want to end up with still a little bit of play left in there at full lock to the left and right. That feels good. So now I'm going to separate the barrel and the lock nut for the barrel. Spin that in. And then using pliers, I like to tighten up on the lock. This way it doesn't loosen up while I ride. All right, this is good to go. We will, at the very end of this video, we will go through all the adjustment of the different levels and how you would go about finding out what's right for you. Let's hop on over to the brake. The brake side on this bike is actually much easier. There's a lock nut here, much like on the clutch side, and then same size tool, 10mm, opens up the pivot bolt. So let's get that nut off. Let's get our pivot bolt off. You may have to pull up on the throttle cables to make enough clearance here. Once this is out, once this pivot bolt is out, the lever is actually loose. Just have to be careful how you take it off. Not want to shear this button off. It's kind of fragile. So during disassembly and reassembly, we want to be careful not to hurt this guy. Once again, depending on the life that your Grom has had, you may have to clean this. I always like to clean it all off and replace new grease in there anyway, so that's what we're going to do. It is a sliding surface, so we want to make sure that it's clean and greased up. We'll grab the lever. Once again, get some grease in there. All the mating surfaces that this thing spins around will receive grease, and also the bore. Get the pivot bolt in there, distribute the grease around. And get the excess grease off the thread. All right, so like I mentioned, we want to be careful with that button. So what I like to do is slide straight back and then start pivoting it around until I have engagement between this lever portion here and that button, and this rounded feature is touching the piston on my master cylinder. I'm actually going to put a little bit of grease on there since I wiped off the grease. It came from the factory. I'll do a cleanup job at the very end. All right. Let's get this pivot bolt in there and the thread started. You may have to jiggle it back and forth a little bit until you find the threads. And now we'll just Okay, we're gonna bottom out this screw. Tighten it up just a little bit and make sure that we've still retained motion in there. Now there is a little bit of slop in here, and that's because the clearance in this master cylinder has quite a bit of tolerance from the process that is manufactured with. Can't do much about that. We could tighten up on it just a little bit, but please don't tighten up too much. You don't want to strain it. And also, if you do decide to tighten up a little bit, make sure that you haven't clamped this together in a way that your brake no longer moves. Obviously, this is a life-saving device. You want to make sure that it's operating properly. So all those inspections are necessary. Let's get the lock nut on here. And now I'm going to lock down on my locking nut, but I'm going to hold the top. Make sure that I'm not turning it back out with the nut that I'm turning in. All right, feels good. Get my throttle cables back in position here. Give a control check. Make sure that throttle works without binding. Make sure that my brake works without binding. And now we can go ahead and talk about how to adjust these. The adjuster pointed outboard, it is the closest to the bar. See, for me, it actually hits my knuckles before I bottom this out. I still have the rubber hoses on here that came from the factory, so there is quite a bit of work that is absorbed by the expansion of the rubber. You can see I'm getting it pretty much to the bar. I'm not gonna get as much brake engagement as I would if I had steel lines on here. So, for the purpose of mitigating that, I'm gonna go out inboard with the adjuster and get the lever farther away. Now, you wanna make sure that you can get maximum brake pressure that you're comfortable with, and also maximum comfort for however you like to brake. Typically, people choose the Shorty Levers because they don't wanna have to use the whole hand on there. They're really made for 1, 2, or 3 finger people.
And just like that, you have successfully installed the Womet-Tech Shorty Levers on your Honda Grom. 6 points of adjustment so you can really get a feel for things with a beautiful CNC anodized aluminum finish. And if you opted for a different color adjuster, that's a beautiful customization point. Otherwise, black and red, it actually flows on this color scheme wonderfully. So if you're interested in this product, you want to find out more details, you're ready to add to cart and check out, please be sure to visit our website, tstindustries.com. The link to this kit can be found in the description below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you just want to say, hey, let us know where you're watching from, please feel free to do so. We'd love to hear from you. Of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn the notification bell on. And if you found this video helpful, please be sure to give us a thumbs up. And lastly, don't be shy. Stop by our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all username TST Industries. For now, this has been Mark in the TST Garage, and we will catch you next time. Ride safe.